What's up, everyone? I'm back and I wanted to discuss with you the classes and races that we know are going to be available in early access, as well as some basic character creation rules that you may want to make yourself familiar with. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we delve into character creation. What's up, everyone? We're back. So, you're probably confused and wondering, how are you going to determine these ability scores? Well, the game right now uses the point buy system, where the higher the ability score you want, the more expensive in points it's going to cost you. You get 27 points to spend, and 8 in an ability score is free, but you go all the way up to a 15 that costs you 9. So, with the current point setup, you can start with 3 15s and 3 8s, or you can get somewhere in the middle with 3 13s and 3 12s. There's also the standard array, which is a 15, a 14, a 13, a 12, 10, 8. And then you can fiddle and get everywhere in between. Now, these are before your race modifies your stats. So your race can bring that stat above a 15. But this is just a starting stone, and really targeting for a 16 when you add in racials gives you a good place to start for just your key ability score. So if you are a wizard who uses intelligence to determine their spellcasting, get a 16 in intelligence, and really just everything else from there, build it to represent what you want to be. If you want to also be charismatic, play someone who's both intelligent and charismatic. If you want to be dexterous and jumping all over the place with your acrobatics, then be a dexterous character. Now, we're going to go through the races that are going to show up in early access right at the start. You've got Dwarf, Elf, Halfling, Human, Githyanki, Half Elf, Teefling, Half Drow, and Drow. And we're going to come back in a little bit and do a better deep dive into each of these. But first, I just want to go over the classes that are going to be in the game at the start. And that's the Cleric, the Fighter, the Ranger, the Rogue, the Warlock, and the Wizard. The Cleric is a wisdom-based caster. Fighter can be strength or dexterity-based. The Ranger also can be strength or dexterity-based, but when you do get your spellcasting, it's going to be wisdom-based. The Rogue is normally a very dexterous character, and if you go for the Arcane Trickster to get a little bit of spellcasting, that's going to be intelligence based. Your Warlock is a charisma based caster, and it's going to work very different than all the other spellcasters in the game. And your Wizard, as we mentioned before, is an intelligence based caster. So, let's go ahead and change our view and start looking at each of these races that are going to be in the game, and each of the classes will get their own video that'll be showing up shortly. So let's switch on over to D&D Beyond to look at this stuff. So we're going to start with the Dwarves. Now, there are many different types of Dwarves in the game, but the main thing that they're going to start us with for their sub-races are going to be the two main ones, the Hill Dwarves and the Mountain Dwarves. Later down the road, we might get the Duergar, which are the Dwarven equivalent of Drow. But for the most part, let's just look at what the basic traits are for Dwarves. Now, they all increase Constitution. Dwarves can live a really long time. They tend to be more towards lawful alignments. And they're 4 to 5 feet tall, so they're still medium creatures, but they're stocky. They're on the short side. And because of the stocky build, their speed is only 25 feet. Thankfully, though, their speed is never reduced from wearing heavy armor. Now, they do get dark vision, and they also have Dwarven Resilience, which gives them resistance to poison damage and advantage on saving throws against poisons. We've already seen that giant spiders are going to be in the early access, so this could be really good when you're coming into those sort of effects. They also get Dwarven combat training, which gives them battle axes, hand axes, light hammers, and war hammers. This is great for classes like the Cleric that don't normally get access to those weapons, and lets you play a little more combat-oriented role in those. They also get a tool proficiency, smith's tools, brewing supplies, or mason's tools. I'm not sure how Larian's going to incorporate this in, but it'll be fun to see. Stone cutting is also another one that's going to be hard to see how they're going to incorporate it, because it gives you a better history check when doing things that are origin of stonework. So that'll be interesting. Now, Hill Dwarves here also get the benefit of extra wisdom and extra hit points. This is the big thing that makes people want to play a Hill Dwarf. You get the hit points, you have the wisdom, makes you a really great build for a Cleric. Then as we move on further down, we have the Mountain Dwarf, which gives you strength and the proficiency in light and medium armor. I've never seen someone take a Mountain Dwarf just to get the armor training. They usually are playing a class that already provides it, but that strength increase with the constitution increase that dwarves normally have anyways makes them great fighters. It also can make you a really good ranger. Next, we have the Elves. We're also going to go ahead and bring the Drow up in here because they're going to use these same traits. The only reason the game is going to treat them separately is because the Drow are going to have their own set of design things for designing the look of your character. And it makes it easier from them from a development standpoint, so I'm good with that. They also might adjust things to make the Drow a little bit more stand out. But for what we know, they're still a sub-race of elf. Now, all elves, regardless of sub-race, they're going to give you that dexterity increase. Elves also get to be very old, even older than dwarves. Elves tend to go for a more chaotic alignment, but that's just the norm. That's not what you have to be. Elves tend to be tall and slender, and they are also a medium size. They get a base walk speed of 30 feet. They also have the dark vision, and their keen senses gives them proficiency in perception. Proficiency just means you're going to be better at these things, and it's going to be an additional bonus to your skill rolls and attack rolls on anything that you're proficient with. Fey ancestry makes it harder for them to be charmed and keeps them from being put to sleep by magic. And trance is just how they sleep instead of normal sleeping. They enter a meditative state, per se. Now, when you're looking at high elves have a higher intelligence than normal. They also get a cantrip that they get to choose from the wizard spell list, because they've got a basic understanding of magic. Now, as we go to the wood elves get a wisdom increase. They're also faster in movement, and then they have Mask of the Wild, which just lets them hide better in natural terrain. And then the Drow, they get charisma increases. Their dark vision is better, but they're also sensitive to sunlight. And they have some basic magic that they can cast. They know Dancing Lights as a cantrip, and as they level up, they get once per day castings of Fairy Fire and Darkness. They're also going to get additional weapon training in rapiers, short swords, and hand crossbows. And that's really it for the elves that are going to appear in this game. Next, we're going to look at the halflings. So, halflings they're brave, they're courageous, and they're all going to give you a dexterity increase. They tend to live lives similar to humans, but they can live a little bit longer. So they tend to be more of a lawful good alignment. They are small creatures, about 3 feet tall, normally not more than 40 pounds, and they've got that slower walking speed because of them being small. But they're lucky, and in game rolls, this means if you roll a 1, they get to re-roll it. As I said before, they're brave, so they are better at resisting fear, and because of their nimbleness, they can move through the spaces of any creature that's larger than them. Normally, a creature has to be 2 size categories larger for you to do this. Halflings, as long as you're bigger, they can do it. Now, Lightfoot Halflings, the first one we're probably going to see, and they get a charisma score increase. As well, they're naturally stealthy, and it lets them hide behind anything that's larger than them. Normally, if you're trying to hide behind another creature, once again, you need those 2 size category difference. Then, let's see here. Where is our other one? The Stout Halflings. They get Constitution increase, and they have a Stout Resilience, which makes them very similar to Dwarves in resisting poison and getting advantage on the saving throws. Now, humans we're going to come back to because we got to do a little bit extra talk with them. Gith. The Githyanki are the only ones that are in the game. Githzerai may make it into the game at a later date. But the Githyanki get an intelligence increase as well as a strength increase. They tend to be lawful evil. They have mastery over skills with tools and whatnot that you generally get to pick. And they're proficient with short swords, long swords, and great swords. They also have some basic psionics, so they get Mage Hand, and then as they level, they can learn Jump and Misty Step. Next is the Half-Elf, which is going to be very similar to the Elf. And the Half-Drow is going to use this stat as well, as far as we know. But we have some actual Half-Drow rules, so we can get an idea of how they're going to be different. Now, Half-Elves, they're very charismatic. They also get 2 ability scores of their choice that they want to improve. This makes them one of the best races to play as because they're versatile. But just because they have the versatility doesn't mean they're going to make the best class that you're trying to play. It just gives them a little leg up on the ability side. Maybe you see a certain racial ability that's going to make things better for you. For example, Dwarves and Stout Halflings with the poison resistance. That's kind of hard to work against. Or even the Hill Dwarves with the extra toughness. That's better than just saying, hey, I have a con 16. Because a dwarf can be con 16 and still have that extra point of health. Now, they age similar to humans, but once again, just like the halflings, they live a little bit longer. Half-elves tend to stay a bit more on the chaotic alignments, but once again, you choose what you want to be. They're still medium creatures with a walk speed of 30, and thanks to their elven ancestry, they're going to get dark vision, the Fey ancestry benefits, but then they have skill versatility that lets them choose some additional skills to be proficient with. Now, half-drow don't have that skill versatility. Instead, they have the same drow magic that normal drow have. Teeflings are infernal bloodline characters. They have some form of devil in their blood, whether it be a direct descendant or someone way long in the past. Now, this results in them getting intelligence and charisma increases. They age just like humans, and due to their nature, they tend to be a bit more evil. But, once again, you choose what you want to be. They're still medium creatures. They have a walk speed of 30 feet. They inherited their dark vision from their infernal heritage, as well as hellish resistance, which is going to give them resistance to fire. They also have infernal legacy, which gives them some spells that they can do. They know the thaumaturgy cantrip, and it lets them cast hellish rebuke once per day, as well as darkness once per day, as they get into the higher levels. Now, there are also some alternate Teeflings, which is you're calling from a specific Archduke of Hell that you're calling your heritage to. The standard one is an Asmodeus Tiefling, because all infernal creatures, regardless of who they are, have to revere to Asmodeus. So, this is the one I expect the game to use, and I'm thinking later on down the road, after we've worked on early access, we'll probably get some, if not all, of these additional ones. But the one that I think most likely for us to see is going to be the Zariel Tiefling, since Zariel plays such a key role in everything that's happened in Baldur's Gate recently. And finally, back to the human. Now, human is going to be very bland at the start of early access, because when early access starts, we're only going to have access to the basic human. Benefit of basic human, though, is all ability scores increased by 1. You can get some really good stats with this, and it makes for great balanced characters. There's no particular alignment. We're humans. We know what humans reach maturity and age like, and we know that generally we're medium and a decent walk speed at 30. But here is where things get interesting. The variant human. Later on, when feats get introduced into the game, this is something that I expect will be available for us to choose. You don't get as many ability scores, you only get to pick 2, but you get a skill of your choice to get proficiency in, and a feat. And there are a lot of good feats in the game that make certain builds really wonderful. So, that is what we're looking at moving forward. So with that, we're going to go ahead and bring this to an end, and we'll start showing up with videos delving into each of our classes, starting off with Cleric. Hope to see you there, and enjoy, everyone.